Wednesday Night Reviews.
Thank you for tuning in, everyone. This is Konrad from Wednesday Night Reviews. I've got a bit of an unusual review for you here today. Of course, instead of a comic, as you can see, plain as day, I've got the brand new Darkhorse Direct Hellboy. I, in fact, was lucky enough to scoop up this special edition, which comes with the sword Excalibur, as well as Hellboy's devil horns. And genuinely, I am extremely impressed with this figure. I've had numerous figures, toys, action figures, statues, and the level of detail in this figure that makes it look like Hellboy from the comics is impressive to me. The first thing I noticed when I took it out of the box, and this is pretty much the state that you get it in, is that the design itself of his chest as well as his face matches that of Mignola's. We get the extremely thin lips with basically his teeth, as you can see in the box behind him. It's perfectly reflective of the art. It also has a high level of detail in the belt, which impressed me, as well as the arms. And of course the coat was made very well. There are a few odd details such as buttons and things like that, but depending on the issue you're reading or however you're reading Hellboy, digitally, paperback like I did, or per issue when it was coming out as issues, the coat is designed differently. It does have a lovely insignia on it for you to enjoy. And it does cover him. It actually is the same size it should be. So they've done a really good job with detail there. One other major thing I liked most about it was his legs. So they actually properly did Hellboy's legs, where he's got the cloven feet, the hooves, as opposed to human feet, as he's always depicted in the movies and films. He stands approximately 7 inches high, and he's, at his shoulders anyway, about 3 inches or so. And of course he's got the right hand of doom. So a bunch of reasons, again, impressed me about this one: the look, but also the movability. So I've had many figures and toys where it boasts high articulation, but it looks goofy or weird, and it ends up exposing a lot of the joints. Because of the way this has been designed, the legs, yeah, you can see the joint, and it does look a little odd because the plastic they used in the joints is more glossy than that of the skin, if you will, but it still looks pretty good. And of course with this figure you're pretty much being drawn to the upper body anyway because of, well, the right hand of doom. But the detailing in the actual leg muscles, the way the legs look, the way they move, it very much impressed me. He's got a lot of movement here. His feet move very well. Of course his legs move quite a bit, short though they may be. The other thing that very much impressed me about this figure was the movability. Basically his mobility, his actual range of motion. So he's got, oh, here, let me take the coat off. One Hellboy coat with awesome wire liners, so you can really do a lot with it, pose it, have some extreme mobility, and it follows throughout the whole exterior of the coat, allowing you to do pretty much whatever you want with it. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so the mobility of the Hellboy figure is what impressed me most. So the way they've designed it is extremely intelligent. So starting with the right hand of doom, because it's kind of the big selling point with Hellboy. One, the fist looks great. They have a lot of nice texture and detail, cracking in the arm, along the back of the fist, as well as discoloration in the joints, along the back of the knuckles, and even on the knuckles, which we can see here. It does look fabulous. And again, the dexterity of Hellboy is quite impressive. So each finger moves, so you can have him wave high or whatever you want to do. Have him reach for a big beer. As we can see here, because of the way it's built, the thumb has great mobility, as well as the wrist. It's very mobile, it can twist, just like your thumb might, and even then, a little bit beyond what your thumb might. So that way you can really have the flexibility to recreate some of the big shots from Hellboy's series when he's fighting various monsters, dragons, demons, and otherwise. And as you can see, each finger has 1 and 2 joints, much like yours or mine. And of course, we've got a third joint in here, which enables him to have complete human-like mobility. Again, each finger on the hand does as well, and they all move like so. So you can make him ball up a fist, crunching the knuckles over, bring them all down, fold the thumb over, and have fun with it. Additionally, beyond that, of course, we have the hand, which is mobile. The arm itself is mobile in the ball joint. And then what I like most, because this, especially when he's wearing his coat, it allows you to have a lot of mobility. We've got this little joint. We've got this little joint in here, which moves this way. So he can actually have a more mobile joint, because of the size of the hand, that would stop it normally in most figures, but they've added that in there. So if he wants to rub the back of his neck, he can go ahead and do that. Beyond the arm and the hand of doom, again, this is just impressive design on the end of the sculptors and Darkhorse when they planned it out. We've got the shoulder joint. So you can see it here, and it does pop out, allowing you to remove the coat more easily, and it sinks in like so. But the skin that they've had here, the skin that they have here, this rubber, is highly malleable, so it allows for a lot of movement. So that way he can have, a nice looking movement in here, and it looks fluid. Again, echoing how it's drawn. And the same thing happens in the front. This skin allows the mobility here to move without looking odd or exposing that joint, because that would look odd. And the durability of the figure as well is impressive, because just to get the joint off, it's quite a bit of force, and it's quite durable. I've had, multiple times now I've taken off the arms, changed them out. It's still just as strong as it was originally, and the left arm as well has just as much mobility, just missing the complex joint of the right hand of doom, and that allows for a lot of interesting movement. Unlike the knees, they didn't put in actual elbows, but it does still look quite fluid and normal. Again, when he's wearing his coat, absolutely hidden, and even then, because of the coloring of all the plastics that they used, it does look very good. The head itself as well is made of, I believe, 2 separate parts, front and back. The hair comes on and the horns are removable. You simply pull them out, and they have formed pieces that allow you to get in there, place them where you want, and you're good to go. In the deluxe edition, you do also, as mentioned, get the horns, so you can pop them in this face, or he does have a face where he's got his mouth closed. And of course we come to the belts. The belt, detail-wise, is awesome. It's got tons of little pouches. They don't open, unfortunately. He's got his cross, which does come on a mobile chain. And then he has his gun pouch, his holster, which comes in here. The lid to the holster I'm not too keen on. I wish they'd made it a solid piece in the back, and then maybe even had a small buckle, but what they have done is put these little divots there and in there, so they slide in together, and it holds fairly well, but if you're playing around with it, sometimes it can get knocked off. The gun itself is removable, comes out, and he does of course have hands to hold the firearm as well as the sword. And one thing that impressed me most about this toy is simply the chest. So one, it looks good. It's a moldable plastic or molded plastic, which allows you extreme mobility, because of course Hellboy never really stands still, except maybe in his covers, but even then. So you do get a lot of mobility where you can create upright and downright motion. The spine or whatever internal mechanism they have for him is very strong. So if you wanted to sit him down, you could do so. And again, you'll see here, he's got this lip about him at his upper torso, so you can just make sure when you're moving him around that it sticks where it needs to stay. There's what I mentioned about the gun holster flap coming off quite easily. And lastly, the main detail, his tail itself, fairly mobile, pops right off. It's another ball joint, pops right back on, and there is even a cutout in the belt you can see there for his tail to go. And the tail does absolutely fit within the coat, so he can stand on his own thanks to his tail. I believe if you lean him forward a bit, he can actually stand completely on his own without the tail. Yeah, so he's a fairly well balanced figure. Tail isn't touching the ground there, but of course you can always lean him back a bit, and he's got that extra support of the tail on the ground. Okay, let's see inside the box, Konrad. So when you open the box, take the sleeve off, you'll see this. This is where Hellboy actually is packed away. So the horns here and the sword Excalibur here are originally, or were for me, taped in the back. And then of course we have the additional heads. So here we have Hellboy's normal face with the horns ready. So again, whether he's wearing his devil horns, and you can sort of see the slots there again, or the regular horns, it's quite easy to just pop them out, pop them back in. Even the shorter ones with less grip, you can actually get your nail in there or use a tool if you wanted, but I found the plastic of his face to be strong enough that you can get in there with your nails and pull it out. Additionally, he has his open hand, which I've got him wearing currently. He's got this hand, which is just sort of a relaxed position, as if he was walking. Another fist, as very frequently Hellboy does like to punch people. And lastly, his trigger hand, such that he can hold the gun and the sword. And the fingers are quite strong. They're very beautifully molded. So I was afraid, admittedly, that perhaps the thumb or some of these fingers would, snap off. However, again, it's very hard plastic, and the hand perfectly fits it. It wiggles a little bit, but it's quite strong on its own. So for posing purposes, it's gorgeous, and all of it works splendidly together. So this is pretty much everything you get with Hellboy right out of the box. And I'm just going to show you some of the poses that we can do. Here's one last shot of everything you get in the box with the special edition. So we've got the coat, his sword, Excalibur, the Good Samaritan, the holster and top, his extra head, of course with horns, the horns and the sword coming in the special edition, a fist, trigger finger, and spread open hand, the relaxed hand, and then we've got Hellboy himself, and that is everything you get in the Darkhorse Direct exclusive Hellboy figure. Alright guys, so that's our review of the Darkhorse Direct Hellboy exclusive figure. I thought I'd end off in the pose he's got on the cover. As you can see, it's a really good faithful recreation. The overall figure is spectacular, looks great, lights up very well. So whether you're using, some sort of lighting or natural light, the figure always looks solid. You'll have a lot of fun with this one. It's a lot of posability. It's not going to wear out over time. So I really do believe if you haven't already, do try and scoop this one up. You'll unfortunately be unable to get the exclusive with the sword and the horns, but absolutely do find one of these figures if you're a Hellboy collector. You're going to want it.